So today I'm going to be reviewing The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Steig Larsson. I've had to read it recently for university because I'm taking a crime module. I tried to read it before about 5 years ago, and I got about halfway through the book and thought, don't know, got a bit bored. And then I watched the film and realised that I should have stuck with the book because it's a really, really good story. I'm not going to give too much away because I don't know if everybody's read it or seen the film, so I don't want to do spoilers. What struck me first was that it's a crime novel, but there's so much going on throughout the book that it's not simply sort of there's a crime that happened and they're going to solve it, like a general detective story would be. So there's 2 or 3, I think, main storylines that run through the book. Because it was originally going to be published under the title Men Who Hate Women. And when you know that, you take the whole book in a different light. It really tackles crime against women, particularly sexual crime against women, which I found very, very interesting. And it's really clever because at the beginning of each section of the book there are these really clever, if I can find it, little oh, that's backwards, so you can't read it. It's little statistics about crimes against women in Sweden, which is where the book's set and where the writer's from. And it's statistics about how many women have assaults made against them, or how many women don't report assaults and things like that. So I thought that was really interesting. It definitely fed into the narrative of the book quite a lot as well. But yeah, the characters in the book are super interesting because they're really complex. So you don't just have there's no detective, so there isn't like a detective character in the book. There's an investigative, I can't say that word, a journalist who investigates things. I can't say that word. So he's kind of trying to find out what happened to this character called Harriet, who vanished when she was 16, and that happened 40 years previously to the book being set. And yeah, he's working for this guy called Henrik Wagner, who is her grandfather's brother. It's this massive, like, Swedish dynasty. There's a family tree at the front of the book, and I always think if there's a family tree at the front of a book, or a map, or anything like that, then you know there's going to be loads of characters, and you have to pay attention, else you're going to get really confused. But yeah, so there's him, and there's a character called Lisbeth Salander, which is the girl with the dragon tattoo, and she is early 20s, and she is under the protection, because he's a bastard, of her guardian, who's just a massive arsehole, basically, who tries to manipulate her with sex, but she gets him back, so it's all good. It's fairly, no, it's not explicit, but there's quite, you know what happens, there's no gory details, but you get the impression that it's really pretty horrific what happens. And then, yeah, so they're I guess the 2 main characters, and then they meet all the other people and the massive Swedish dynasty family members, and there's all of the journalists' colleagues and friends back in Stockholm. And yeah, so it is complicated, and I'm not going to try and remotely explain all the different storylines because I would be here for about 5 hours. But I mean, I read the book in probably about 5 days, and it's a 500-page book. Excuse me. So that's pretty cool. It means it's not dull, which is always good. I want to read the rest of the trilogy massively, but I can't because I have too many other uni books to read. But yeah, I put the first book down and had to stop myself going and getting the second book off the shelf, which I always think is a good sign. It means that the characters have been sustained over a long period of time, you're not bored of them, and there's still a lot of room for development with the characters as well. It's kind of left at a very, very open place, which is cool. I'm going to see, I highlighted a couple of quotes that I liked, and I'm now going to see if I can find them, but that's probably not going to happen. Oh, another thing about the book that's really interesting is it's quite political. It's very sort of liberal left-wing, which is really interesting. There's lots of talks about communism, and there's also loads of talks about fascism and neo-Nazis. So yeah, there's a nice political element as well. Personally, I don't know how accurate the politics in the novel is, because I do not know anything about Swedish politics. So it mentions lots of prime ministers and lots of different parties, and obviously I have no idea, to be quite honest, if they're real people. I'm sure if I had a Swedish friend, they could tell me, but alas, I do not. Oh, that was something that I found really interesting. When Salander is talking about her sex life and her sexual partners, she discusses that she has sex with both men and women, but doesn't see the point of identifying herself as any type of sexuality. And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, the book is fairly recent. It was written 2005, so it's about 9 years old. But I thought that was really interesting. The guy is clearly very pro-rights for women. That's why the book was called Men Who Hate Women. So he clearly, he's definitely a feminist, which is cool. Obviously, everybody likes a feminist. Well, everybody should like a feminist. Most people don't, but that's a story for a completely other day. I had loads of stuff I wanted to say about this book, and I've completely and utterly forgotten now. I mean, the book touches on sex quite a lot. There is rape in the book, there is incest in the book, there is torture in the book. None of it is particularly explicit, but those things are all in the book. So I guess if those things are sensitive for you in any way, might not be worth. I don't know, it's up to you. But yeah, I would give it 5 stars. Easily one of the best books I've read in a long time. I would recommend it, definitely. But yeah, it's not your straightforward crime novel. There's embezzlement, there's murder, there's kidnapping, there's all sorts, loads of different crimes. So it'd be really interesting to talk about this novel when I get back to university in September, when I'm doing some seminars and some lectures, and I expect I will make another video when I've discussed the book, just to kind of go back over what I've said, see if there's anything more that's been mentioned that I think is relevant. But yeah, it's very intriguing. I didn't want to put the book down. I think one day I read about 240 pages, so that's good. Yeah, got through it fairly speedily, considering I'm working most days as well. But yeah, very good book, definitely worth a read. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say, so I'm probably going to stop talking now, because I'm sure going to get bored. I will be doing another video soon. I'm planning to next read Jacob's Room by Virginia Woolf, so hopefully that will be my next review. Yeah, I guess that's it for now.